Hey, I heard you were on NBA TV yesterday. Is that for real?
I was not on NBA TV.
Are you sure?
I don't know anything about that, Tone.
I don't know. Your peeps in the chat keep saying they saw you last night.
I don't know anything about being on NBA TV. Last night, I was watching the full slate of games. I was flipping through games last night. I was not. If I was on NBA TV, it was because I was actually flipping through the channels and finding games to watch and to pay attention to. So
you might have a doppelganger then, because there was almost too many games on last night.
It was, yo. It was a bunch of them. It was a bunch of them.
But tonight, Utah Jazz assistant coach Scott Morrison is with us. Mm-hmm. So I don't even want to wait. I just want to bring him on because I got like a ton of questions for him. Is that okay if we just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's get to it, man. I'm definitely down with that. Yes, let's get to it.
Haley's going to join us at some point. Mm-hmm. Probably out there, I don't know, doing some taekwondo stuff. You know, she's a fighter, so she's doing MMA or something. I don't know, she'll be there. So without further ado, let's bring in the coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No question about that. What do you say, Coach?
How's it going, fellas?
All right.
Hold on. We got to, Coach, I wanted to start with two other things, but you have a Pittsburgh Pirate hat on?
I do. I'm a big hat guy. I'm not really a Pirates fan per se, but they match our colors, so I brought it on the road with me and matches our new Jazz colors, yellow and black.
That makes a lot more sense to me. I want to start with your path to where you are today. So you're the assistant on the Utah Jazz. I know your path took you from like Canada to Australia, finally to Utah. Jay used to play college ball in Utah, so you guys can reminisce about how exciting the times are in those Utah nights. But can you kind of give us the path a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm from Prince Edward Island in Canada, and grew up in a really small place called Morrell. About 300 people live there. I think my question is of whether I can curse on the show or not. Just got to answer it.
No, you can, because I have my headphones on, so he can't hear you. This is
okay. So hopefully I won't have to, but you never know. You never know what might come up.
We are rated R here. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We are rated R.
No, that's fair. So I played college ball there in Prince Edward Island. I played for my dad. Got lucky and got a college job in Canada at Lakehead University. Like when I was 25, I was the head coach there. Had a little 10-year run, and then went to volunteer in the G League with the Maine Red Claws, which was now the Maine Celtics, the Celtics G League team. I did a year of volunteering, drove the bus, did the laundry, did whatever they needed me to do. Got to know the Celtics guys during the year, and that summer they ended up hiring me for the head job in Maine. So I was a head coach of the Maine Red Claws for 3 years. Got called up eventually to the Celtics, spent 4 years with the Celtics, got the 2 Eastern Conference Finals, never could quite get over the hump. And when Coach Stevens moved up to be president and they hired Ime Udoka to be the new coach, he brought in a new staff by and large, and a lot of us were left to find new paths. So I chose to go to Australia, be a head coach again at the professional level in the NBL with Perth Wildcats. Did 1 year there. It was a great year, great spot, but we wanted to come back to the U.S., so got lucky to get back in the G League last season with the Salt Lake Stars, Utah's team. And got to know Coach Will Hardy during that time in the front office with Utah, and just took 1 year this time, but back with the Jazz on the bench, and really excited and grateful to be back in the NBA after a couple of years off.
So we're gonna jump kind of sideways for a second, because you don't know this unless JJ told you. That's our mutual contact, by the way, is a guy named JJ. We'll talk about that later. But so I have this plan, and I've been telling Jay this plan for about 2.5 years.
It's not going to work, by the way. It's not.
It's going to work.
No, it's not. But keep going.
That I'm going to become, because they need help. It's not my team. I'm a Laker fan, have been my whole life, so it has nothing to do with them. I'm going to be the general manager of the Knicks. And I understand that you might have a plan of, I'm just saying, could I hire you as head coach of the Knicks?
Hey, Coach, before you answer that question, just so you know, if you don't win the NBA championship in the next 5 years,
we don't get paid.
The dough that you made, you got to give it all back. So that's the part of the contract that he left out.
I'm good then.
So, that's what I figured, because it's important for him to mention that part, Coach. Absolutely, it's important not to leave that out. So it's
I don't know
important
if it's your contract, but I heard something about you and the Knicks maybe a long time ago that was kind of a thing you wanted.
I was a big Knicks fan growing up. That was my team. Patrick Ewing was my favorite player, and I hung in there with them through thick and thin. And then when the Celtics finally hired me to be the G League coach, that was my excuse to jump ship without feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I got bad information.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I was a Knicks fan the whole time through. But nowadays with 2 kids, I can't be, as much as I'd love to bet on myself in that situation.
Need a job.
Got to make sure the paycheck comes in. So
need a job.
I'll pass on that deal. If you want to sweeten the deal a little bit, I'm happy to be on board.
Absolutely.
You keep your money. If I don't win, I give my money back.
Oh,
so
I'm good then. I'll coach
only I'm giving my money back.
Right.
Because I feel like the league is better. Don't you feel like the league is better when the Knicks are good?
100%. Just like the Yankees, Celtics, Lakers, Maple Leafs. All the core teams makes things more interesting. Madison Square Garden is a cool place to play, even when the Knicks are bad. So imagine the atmosphere when they're good. I'm looking forward to going back this year. The last couple of years I've been there to play, they weren't as strong, and they're at least an Eastern Conference top shelf team anyway. Now, whether they're contending or not, we'll see. But the vibe in there should be really cool. And having been a Knicks fan, growing up, it is still cool and special to play in there. I can only imagine what it would be like to actually be on the court playing, but coaching and being part of it is awesome too.
I feel like us, we still feel that's the Mecca, right? It's still the Mecca of basketball to me. That's the way like Madison Square Garden. Like I want to play there. Everybody wants to play there, right?
Yeah, I think once you're the Mecca, you're always the Mecca. I think there's not quite as much talent coming out of New York as there used to be back in the day, and obviously the teams haven't produced championships like they did maybe in the 70s and. Whether it be college or NBA, but it's still the biggest stage and the brightest lights, and guys still raise their level a notch when they walk in that arena. They walk up that arena. There's a big steep uphill from the bus at MFG, but everyone's always holding their breath when they don't want to look at a shape when they're walking up the ramp with the cameras on. It's a cool thing to experience, and I think they're definitely. Is better when the Knicks are good. The Nets will never be the Knicks in terms of the place they hold in the fans there or nationwide. But also a cool place to play, just not the same history and aura as MSG.
It's interesting, Coach. You talked about experience because you just mentioned your grind and going from an assistant coach to a head coach. Once you taste being a head coach, is it difficult going back to being an assistant?
In this case, it wasn't, because I was going back to the NBA, and as much as it's fun to be the head coach and you get to try some things that maybe you don't get to try as an assistant, if you have the right situation, which the situation we have in Utah is incredible, both from ownership and front office and support standpoint, and working for Coach Hardy, he gives me a big voice. So a lot of the stuff I want to try, I get to try with his blessing, So this is probably – assistant coach in the NBA is the best job you can have for basketball purposes when you want to combine the quality of life and the travel perks and being at the highest level. And when you get to contribute a little bit of your own input and have a voice, like I said, I have here, it's pretty hard to beat. If a team wants to offer me a head coaching job, I'd definitely take it just to meet the challenge and get the extra cash.
Yep.
But it's not necessarily what's driving me anymore. That was kind of what was driving me when I first got into Boston, and I became somewhat obsessed with that and got really close, and then all of a sudden was out altogether. So once you're out altogether, you certainly appreciate any role you can have. And like I said, I'm pretty blessed to have the one I have here in Utah. Hopefully we have a couple contracts to try and get it done here.
So I got a question for you. Like in the NFL, it's easier because there's defined roles. You've got your head coach, your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams. In basketball, sometimes it's like that, but every situation is different. So what's the situation in Utah?
So it is different everywhere. It just depends on the head coach. So here I'm coaching both sides, but really my job is offense. I'm like the lead offensive assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a big say on offense. I can still contribute on defense, and I still do. But when it comes time to decide, all right, what do we want to work on today offensively? I better have my list ready of what I think we need to work on, what needs to be improved, what needs to be tweaked. And that practice time is so precious in the NBA. Once you get, like today, for example, I had a 20-minute segment. All right, let's figure out what we're going to do. And I'm leading that 20 minutes. So in a certain way, I'm kind of like an offensive coordinator, but I'm not calling the plays. I'm having input into what plays are run. I'm meeting with Coach Hardy, on game days and deciding what lineups maybe we should have, what play calls. So I have a little bit of input like that.
Yeah.
But by and large, I'm trying to see both sides of the ball and a little bit of player development mixed in. Everyone kind of has their main role, but is able to touch everything, which is kind of cool too.
Coach, I told Tony this when they made the Rudy Gobert trade for the 5-1s, and it was Danny Ainge. And I told Tone, I said, Tone, don't be surprised if you see the Boston Celtics in Utah in the next 4 to 5 years with what they're trying to build. Coach, can you talk about the young talent that you have? Because I love this kid, Walker Kessler, that you got. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I think we have 2 or 3 pieces that are going to be there for a number of years. Walker Kessler at the 5. He's struggled a little bit this year so far, but he had a great rookie season. He's still very impactful on the defensive end, on the glass. He had a couple double-doubles now in the last week, so he's starting to get going. Keontae George is our rookie that we have. He was one of 3 rookies, but he's the most ready. He's a one-and-done at Baylor. He started his first game last night in Indiana at the point guard spot. So I think he's going to be a guy that's with us hopefully for the next 10, 12 years, running the show, running the one. He's a very talented kid. He understands the game very well.
So you think you got your franchise point guard, Coach? You got your guy at the 1 spot, you think?
I think he's going to be a franchise guard, whether he ends up being a pure 1 or a combo. But right now we're trying to kind of speed up his development process by starting him and working with him a little bit more closely.
Okay.
Ochai Agbaji is a guy that maybe could be a role player as a wing defender. Guard 2 guards, space the floor, shoot corner threes, things like that. He was from Kansas. He won a national championship with Kansas, so he was a rookie last year. So those 3 guys, I think, are part of the quote-unquote core that we hope will be around for a long time. We have a lot of other good players too. Markkanen obviously is only 26. Broke out last season as an all-star. I'm sure he'll be around for a good stretch. And we have some other guys in that same timeline right now, like John Collins and Horton Tucker and Colin Sexton, all young guys. There's with all those draft picks, there's probably going to be some movement of some degree on the trade market as we move forward. But we have the best in the business, Danny, pulling the strings from the front office, and he's got a few pieces already. I'm sure, like you said, that will be there for a long time.
I have a 2-parter because the first part is Kessler obviously has an elbow injury. They said a couple of weeks. Is that a pretty fair assessment of his elbow injury?
I think it's more of a thing where it's been bothering him, and they feel like 2 weeks off with some extra rehab will get him straightened out. He could probably play through it, but this early in the season and the stage that we're at with our program, there's no reason to risk anything long term to squeeze out a couple extra games. So it'll be a good chance for some of the other young guys to get out there and play and show what they can do and see if they can crack the rotation as well.
Yeah.
My second question is about another name you brought up in that list. That's why I said a 2-parter, because I'm going to hold you to this a little bit. I'm not like, I don't know if anybody, I don't let people off the hook. And you brought up Lauri Markkanen very late in that discussion, but I asked for your top 10 Jazz all time, and he's in it. You had him at 9. Isn't it too early?
Well, I got to work with him every day just in case he saw the list. I wanted to throw him in there.
Hey, Tony, you got to relax, man. You got to see this dude every day. When you're dealing with somebody every day, it's a little bit different when I only got to see you once or twice in the season. I got to see you every day. It's a little bit different, Coach. Absolutely.
All right.
You got to take care of your stars. That's one thing about coaching in the NBA. You got to take care of the stars.
It's interesting, Coach. It's interesting about Utah because I went to Utah State. And I was there in the 90s when they had Malone and Stockton and Brian Russell and Ty Corbin and all of those great guys. And Utah, contrary to popular belief, is one of the best basketball cities in the NBA, especially when you're rocking and rolling. I just remember it just being one of the best times as a basketball player and fan to watch those Jazz teams. It would be significant for the NBA if you can get back to something like that.
No question. We have great fans even now when we're not really a winning team yet. Obviously, we're competitive, and last season we won probably more games than people expected, and this year's team's even younger, so it's going to be tough. But there, we beat the Clippers our second home game this year.
Yeah,
right down to the wire, and the place was going crazy. My wife was at the game, and she was just commenting after that. We're coming from Boston, which is probably a top 3 atmosphere in the league. Good or bad, it can turn on you quick in Boston. But this place was just as loud, in that Clippers game as we've seen in Boston, especially in the regular season. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like when we do get rolling, like you said. That list I sent you, the top 10 players, a little bit biased, obviously, with throwing Market in there after a year. And I worked with Gordon Hayward for 3 years in Boston one-on-one, so I threw him in there too. But they're both all-star players for the Jazz, so there's an argument to be made for those guys to be up there, but not quite yet to the level of the top echelon of that list. Stockton, Malone, Hornacek, Pistol Pete, those guys. Hopefully, in 5-10 years, they're more on par to be debated at the top.
Sure.
So I read off your list. On Tuesday. That's when I do my top 10 list show. So and I'm just going to read it off again because I have 2 issues with your list. That was the one. But I'm just going to read it off. At number 10, you had Gordon Hayward. Number 9, Lauri Markkanen. 8, Jeff Hornacek. 7, Mark Eaton. 6, Andre Karolinko. I love that you said check his defensive stats. We watched him play. We know how good he was. Daryl Griffith at 5, Pete Maravich at 4, Adrian Dantley at 3, and this is my other issue. And I'm going to make you pick. You can't say Karl Malone, John Stockton tied at 1. You have to
pick one, Coach.
Just so you know, he's got Malone at 1 and Stockton at 2. I have Stockton at 1 and Malone at 2.
I'll probably go with Malone for the simple fact that it's one thing to get the assist, another thing you got to finish. And he was the one finishing a lot of tough buckets. He also missed more games in his career. And the same could be said for Stockton pretty much, but Malone missed more games due to suspension than he did for injury. I think he missed like 20 games.
Can you put that on your mind, Tone? Think about that for a second. I got kicked out of school more than I called out sick. How about that?
And I think he only missed 20 games in his, 20-year career. He only missed 20 games. I'm just throwing it out there. Zion, 200 already. But
no, it's unreal.
Conversation for a later time.
Yeah.
Stockton, too, is very similar with his games played numbers. I mean, I think he played 82 games in his last season when he was 40 or something like that. Less minutes, but it was still up there. But the Malone thing, like you think of the pounding on his knees and
that position,
and everything else, and he's throwing elbows and the only thing that kept him out of the game was giving Isaiah 20 stitches, I think. So I'll give him the nod just because of that.
All right. That's fair. So I don't know how long we have you for. I probably should ask that question. So what I'm going to do is there's a couple of questions for you from the chat. So I'm going to throw those up real quick and get you to answer them. And then we'll keep talking. And then I get it. It's busy. Whenever you got to go, you got to go. But one of our long-time listeners, let me make this so it doesn't block your face. Drink more water. Ask the question. Let me see. Welcome, Coach. When preparing for other teams, how many hours? Wow, this could be a big number. How many hours do coaches spend for regular season games? Also, which type of player gives coaches the most trouble game planning for? Shooters or physically dominant players?
That's a good question. The first part depends on how much time we have to prepare. So usually we have maybe 48 hours between games, if that. So if that's the case, one of the assistant coaches was delegated that team as a scout, so they've been working on the game plan for a couple of weeks. My last scout was Minnesota, for example, so I had watched all their games and had everything ready to go when we finished our previous game before that. Then everyone turns their attention to Minnesota for the day between the games. We maybe have an hour and a half coaches meeting, talk about what I think we should do because it's my scout, and then we'll argue about that or change some things. And then go and present it to the team. We'll have one practice or one walkthrough, one film session, and then before the game we'll have another film session. But that's it. So it's for whoever's scout it is, they're putting a lot of hours in. For the rest of the team is only a couple hours to prepare, and that's the thing about the NBA. You got to be able to make quick adjustments. You got to take something new in the morning and apply it at night. Obviously, not everyone can do that very well. So the best teams are the ones that can take something from the TV on film or the walkthrough in the hotel, maybe. Sometimes you don't even go to the court and apply it at night. Those are the most successful teams, usually veteran teams. The second part of the question, I would say the physically dominant players are a little bit tougher because you're always worried about who's going to get stuck guarding them, who's going to get switched onto them. You have to double team them in the paint, things like that. Shooters, trust me, I love having a shooter on my team. Makes things a lot easier for the offense to flow. But usually you can figure out a scheme to at least make their life difficult, whether it be chasing them around, top locking them off pin down screens, switching off the ball just to keep the ball out of their hands. If they're not physically dominant, you have a number of guys you can throw at them to do that. Someone like Giannis is a little bit tougher to deal with. LeBron, you got to account not only for their skill level, but also for like how you're going to keep this guy from getting downhill. And if he gets downhill, who has enough guts to stand in front of them, because not everyone does.
It's important too, Coach, when you bring up delegating responsibilities and duties. So does that also translate to like when you're in a huddle and you're talking to coach about schemes and things like that? Because I feel like a head coach, I feel like he's only as good as his coaching staff. Even though he does have the final say so, he's only as good as his coaching staff. So when you have observations about, I don't know, let's say Kawhi Leonard, who hasn't really been shooting the long ball, maybe we should play drop coverage on him, or maybe we should chase him off the screen a little bit more. Is that something that he would listen to more, as opposed to just I'm just going to do it my way, and I'm just going to not listen to I'm not going to listen to my assistant coaches?
I think the smart ones listen to everybody.
Yeah.
And even if they choose to go back to their own default, that's fine. But at least hearing everybody out, I think, is smart. We're lucky here because we get to have a voice. Not every place is like that. I know in Boston, for example, when Coach Stevens called timeout, he didn't want to talk to us. He wanted to get his own thoughts together.
Yeah.
And if I had something for the team, though, he was cool with me going to talk to the team in the huddle before he got in there. Here, it's like, if I got something quick for the players, I'll tell them, and then we'll go have a huddle with the coaches, the assistant coaches at midcourt with Will before he goes into the huddle and draws his play up or says whatever he's going to say.
Yeah.
And, there's so many of us. There's like 6 to 8 assistants on every staff now. And delegation is important. Role definition is important. Will, or whatever head coaches we're talking about, can't have 8 voices at the same time.
Right.
So I thought he did a great job this year saying, listen, Scott's the lead offensive guy. If you have something to say, I want you to say it, but say it through him. And I trust him to kind of filter what gets passed on to me, and the same thing for the defensive side. So I go into the game just trying to be prepared for whatever I might come up so I can suggest some counters or some adjustments. I try to follow what's going on in the game so I can suggest what plays or who to go to. And my goal basically every game is to just try and maybe impact 4 points extra, whether it be a certain play that I see that we could run if we score on it. Maybe it's something we worked on that morning in the offensive segment that I knew we could apply. Yeah. And just hope that whatever I contributed leads to a couple extra buckets. And really, if that happens, I'm doing more than my job.
Nice.
A lot has been made this season, obviously, with some new rules being implemented about load management. Load management, getting guys to play more games. What are your thoughts? Is it 82 too many? Should it be shortened? Should the guys just play all 82? Are we just living in a time where, hey, let's make those decisions on a case by case basis? If there's a little injury, let's give them the extra time, depending on where we are at what time of the season. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Because it seems to be a topic, and we always try to compare it to the past. Well, the old guys used to play every game, and now they're not doing it. Where do you stand on that?
I'm hoping that it kind of twists back a little bit to the older style. It's never going to go all the way back where guys are just Karl Malone and John Stockton all the time and then practicing in between games. But at least here, I know we're trying to practice a little bit between games. We practiced today, not really full contact, but fairly close. And that's how we're going to get better. Like the veteran teams, my last year in Boston, we didn't need to practice as much, and I was quite happy to play the games. Here, I find myself wishing we could have a little bit more breaks so we could work on some stuff.
Is that because of the young guys, Coach? Is that because of the young guys?
Yeah, like the younger you are, the more you have to actually rep things. In the NBA, it's like college where you have all the time. You can rep it and watch it on film and then do it again the next day. Yeah, that's how you get better. When you have a veteran team in the NBA, it's also cool because you can go down to breakfast, tape off a court on the breakfast room, and walk through the stuff you need to do, and they're going to apply it that night. We're not at that stage yet, so at least for our stage, I wish we had more practice time. Yeah. But when you're at the top of the league, the games are pretty fun, and as long as they keep selling the tickets, it's going to be a tough sell a tough argument to cut back the games because that's where all the cash is coming from, and no one's trying to give any of that back. So I expect
Really
it'll
quickly.
be, yeah.
Really quickly, Coach, because you just mentioned at the top of the league in terms of the grind. Can you talk about how difficult it is traveling as an NBA assistant coach from night to night? So, for example, you played last night. Let's say you played tonight, or you played tonight, and then you got a game in 2 nights, and you have to get ready for Indiana, and then 2 days later you got to get ready for Chicago. Can you talk about how difficult it is in terms of travel and what you guys do?
Yeah, it's different. It's difficult in one sense, and it's easy in the other sense. The easy sense is that we're in Memphis right now. The hotel is not exactly the Four Seasons, but usually we're at a Four Seasons and treated pretty well. Except for Memphis and a couple other places. I'm not complaining. I'm happy to be here. We're on a charter plane, so we fly right after the game. There's no waiting around the airport. There's someone to take your bag, all that stuff. There's meals prepared for you. We're very spoiled. So in that sense, it's easy. The hard part is probably the sleep. The guys are able to go home and they do their unwinding and then go to sleep. We're up having to watch film for the next day. If I didn't have kids, it would be a little bit easier. But like tomorrow night, we'll play Memphis, 7:00 game. Fly home after the game. Probably get to Salt Lake around 1:30. I'll drive home. I'll be in bed by 2:30. My kids will be up at 6:30. So it's not as easy to recover when you have kids. Before I had the kids, it was a little bit better in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the deal. Like once that first week of the season passes, you're going to be tired for the rest of the way, and you kind of look forward to those road trips because you might be able to get a nap in, on game day in the afternoon after you get back from practice. You might be able to sleep in the next morning if you're not going home after the game, so you can kind of catch up a little bit. But it's definitely a grind from the sleep point of view. But the conditions and how we're treated makes up for a lot.
Life as an assistant coach in the NBA, man.
What I love? Jay doesn't get it anymore. His kid is well grown, whereas I got 9-year-old twins, so I completely who jump in on interviews. So I completely understand what you're saying.
My daughter's a nurse, Coach. My daughter's a grown up. She's a nurse, and I've been past that already. I already told her I don't care where you live, because she actually lives in Utah, as a matter of fact. And I told her I don't care where you live and what you got going on. You just better have an extra bedroom in your house because you're not putting me in a home. So you better be prepared for that. So I'm just saying, you better be prepared for that because I'm coming to stay there. So that's just that.
You mentioned extra games. You mentioned as long as they're buying the tickets, they're going to play some games. So it's only one more, but there's 2 teams that are going to play 83 games now this season with the in-season tournament. Have you guys approached those games and said, hey, this is a big deal? Is it, hey, it's a regular season game, so it's, I don't want to trivialize it, say just another regular season game, but is it just another regular season game, or do you bump it up a little bit? Not quite a playoff game, but do you bump up the importance of it?
Before you answer that, Coach, before you answer that, Coach, number one, how do you feel about the in-season tournament?
Well, that's where I think he was going.
I mean, I think it's cool. I think it'll probably have to build up over the years. It's not something that's going to be pun intended, a slam dunk in year one. Everyone's kind of joking about the courts right now. In our circles, like
some of them are bad.
Watching. So our first one's tomorrow here in Memphis. So we saw the court today. It's like a gray and blue court. It's kind of, it's different. It looks kind of like video gamey, but I see why they're doing it, because you turn on the TV and you know right away it's a tournament game. So I think it's pretty good marketing, even though a lot of people are kind of joking about it and making fun of it. There really hasn't been any talk in our locker room about the difference between a regular season and a tournament game, possibly because we're rebuilding and struggling a little bit in the win-loss column. We take any kind of one we can get, so it doesn't really matter what preseason, in-season, regular season, playoff, whatever, we'll take it. So I can't really speak for the teams that maybe in 3 weeks' time are getting ready to be in the final 8. Maybe they're going to ramp it up a little bit. I'm assuming they would. Even though these guys make a lot of money, $500,000 a man isn't a bad little side gig for winning the tournament, especially when you don't get money for winning regular season games, right? So I'm sure that'll have a little bit of an effect. And then I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it to be something, just because the regular season is pretty long, and it can get the dog days come quick if you're not one of the top teams. And if this makes things a little bit more interesting and keeps guys a little extra motivated, then I'm all for trying it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we're running short on time, but I know you've only been in Utah a short time. Like I know you G League last year, but with the Jazz, obviously, just this season. But I have to ask you, at what point? Because I see you wearing a Jordan hoodie, wearing a Jumpman hoodie. So I got to ask, at what point are they going to let this go? How is the Wi-Fi in Utah Jordan pushed off? How is this a thing? And have you experienced this? Is this the Wi-Fi you use when you're in the stadium, or is this for? I don't even know who. I know it's in the stadium. Is this for like you guys?
I think it's just for the fans. I saw that today too for the first time, but I knew about it because our owner. We have a great owner, Ryan Smith. He's by owner standards, he's young. He's about my age.
Mm-hmm.
Still plays basketball with the staff when we play pickup. He's a by all accounts a great dude. And we had an organizational summit before the season for all Jazz employees, not just basketball side. And he said that on his, I think he said on his plane, the Wi-Fi is Jordan pushed off, and he wanted to make it in the arena. So when I saw it today, I guess he accomplished what he wanted to get. He's been a Jazz fan for his whole life. I just think it's funny. I remember watching that game. He kind of probably did push off. Yeah, it's just kind of a good-natured thing. But it'd be really nice if we could win the championship in the next few years, and maybe just that could be the new thing as opposed to we almost did it.
Just so you know, Coach, and I know you got to go, but just so you know, he was ready to throw you out because you just spoke facts.
When he said he did push off,
yeah, he's ready to throw you out because and it is. If we're being honest, yeah, he did. It was definitely an ushering. It was definitely an ushering to the door. Let's not make it sound like
was there a foul call?
No, he embellished. Like the referees don't call it popping; they call it embellishing.
That's what it's called. That's exactly what it's called, Coach.
Yeah.
Byron flopped. So let me ask you this then.
Actually, Brian. Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick, because obviously everybody's asking, it's always the biggest debate topic. We had the VP of ESPN Analytics on, and he told us it's still the most searched thing. Who you got as your GOAT?
Yeah. I know I have to pick one, so I'm going to say Jordan just because I'm obligated to do so, being in my mid-40s.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at I always enjoyed the Hall of Fame debate with any sport. Either you got to be great for a long, long time and make the Hall of Fame, or you got to be the best at your position or in your sport for a short number of years, but you got to be the best. And I think that Jordan obviously crushes that one for a 6-year period. He was the greatest of all time, and maybe a little bit longer than 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron kind of has him on the ladder, the former, where he's been great for whatever many years, 20 now.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on, I guess, what your definition of a GOAT is. If it is the greatest over a short period of time, but the greatest of all time, I have to go with Jordan. If it's like the greatest career, it's tough to go against LeBron, even though Jordan has 2 extra championships. But I'll go with Jordan because I got to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And when we play the Lakers, it'll be LeBron, but just for that one night.
Absolutely, Coach. Yes, sir.
You want to stir the pot,
No doubt.
Now we listen. I have Jordan. He's got LeBron. But I've said many times, if Bron keeps playing the way he's playing, whatever fountain of youth that cup that he's found that he drinks from, there's gonna be a couple years where you just can't argue it. Like he's getting, if he's not there already, he's at that point where if you're this good for this long, even I can't fight it anymore. As much as I'm going to try, though. As much as I'm going to try.
I will say, Coach, I'm a fan of what you guys are doing in Utah. I dig the young talent that you have. I'm a big fan of Colin Sexton. I feel like his injury kind of slowed him down because I felt like I had the right pick. I had the right team for most improved player. I just picked the wrong guy last year. I picked Sexton. It turned out to be marketing. That's because I didn't really think that you guys would be that good. Turned out you were better than what I thought you were going to be, and it ended up being marketing. I really like what you guys are doing with your young talent and how you guys are developing this team, and I expect big things from you guys in the future. I do.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we're on the right page. You just got to be patient and keep trying to improve every day and not get too worried about. I mean, you're trying to win every game, but you're not too worried about the result. You're more worried about the process, and hope that pays off. In the short term, not necessarily more than a couple seasons, but hopefully in the short term it'll pay
At least
off.
not right now, Coach. Because again, I mean, it's not like you're in a position where you got a bunch of vets who are, seasoned and the expectation is higher. You got kids on the crew, and you're basically developing these kids as opposed to teams like Oklahoma City or not even Oklahoma City. I'm sorry, like Phoenix and teams like that where they got win now guys. So I understand that 100%. I do.
Yeah,
even our vets are young guys. Like Horton Tucker's a vet, but he's 22 years old.
Think about that.
only
26.
That's it.
So, yeah.
I was going to say this year's kind of what we expected last year. We expected kind of slow out of the gate, develop, right, and start getting better at the end of the season. And the season started, I think, caught everybody by surprise last year. We won a bunch of games, and I think this year, I think it's more what you would have expected from a script perspective, right? Start off slow, get the young guys, develop them a little bit, and then and work towards that end of the season. So we appreciate you taking the time out. I'm sorry that you're not at the Four Seasons. Memphis isn't. You should get out. Memphis is fun. Good luck in the game tomorrow. Again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, Jay.
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate you, man. Absolutely. I'm gonna pay more attention to I'm paying attention to the Jazz as it is. But
he's in Utah now. He's already
I'm gonna be paying more. I'm gonna be paying more attention.
I'm a little disappointed that Haley wasn't here because I watched the last episode just to get a sense of what I was getting into, and I had a little beef with her.
You had a beef.
Since we on that subject, Coach. Here we go. since we on that subject, Coach. If you can, here she is. As a matter of fact.
Now I got to back it up.
Still can't hear you, H.
Beef with Haley? I just want to be clear.
Well, I tuned into the last episode just to try and figure out what I was getting into tonight, and all I heard was Jason Tatum's not a superstar, so I had a little bit of issue with that.
Get up, Coach. Get up, Coach.
Here we go.
Get up, Coach.
Oh man. All right. Well, look, obviously, Scott, it's nice to meet you. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties, but I've been listening, so it was a great pod. Thanks for coming on. But I guess we have. I mean, if we really want to get into this, what defines a superstar is kind of something we all three differ on, and I'm sure you have your own criteria as well. But look, I have softened my heart, especially coming into this season with Jason Tatum. I've been a bit hard, but not really because of his game. I can't, say that his game isn't elite, but I think it's more so like the pedestal that so many people have put him on when he continually, in big moments, maybe doesn't prove what we expect him to prove. But I mean, we could say that for so many players, and that's been my biggest, I guess, thing with him. Fluent, don't give me that face because you say the exact same thing. Don't back out now.
So don't
Coach, change up now.
It was way worse than this before you showed up, Coach. I've actually softened her up. Her stance is softened a lot since then because it was way worse than this. She was out on Jason Tatum. Right, she's actually now down to sit down and have a cup of coffee and discuss this. Before it was like, don't even talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, and he's what is he averaging, like 33 points so far this season? Like he's almost incredible. 30. He is an incredible player. Is it like 28 now? But but it's a postseason for me. But what would you say, Coach? Like, I mean, you see him play in real time. That's something I don't get to experience. But what's your perspective?
Well, I'm biased. Obviously, just haven't been there. My first year was his first year with the Celtics, and that was the year that Gordon Hayward broke his ankle the first game of the season. And we weren't expecting that much out of JT, but then he kind of blew up. And between him and Terry Rozier and Jalen Brown, they took us to the conference finals. So that's not necessarily what the superstar playoff performance that you're looking for, but as a rookie to do that was pretty impressive. Yeah. Also, for me, anybody that can get you 50 any night of the week is pretty close to
on a Tuesday, Coach. On a Tuesday.
I sat there and watched him get 60 one night. I'll never forget that one. And he has had some big playoff performances. I feel bad because last year he sprained his ankle in Game 7 versus Miami. So maybe that would have been the moment that would have won you over. I'm not sure. But I'm sure he had that in his back of his mind that you were hating on him and not believing in him all summer. And
when we get him on here, Coach,
Coach isn't saying this, but I feel Jason Tatum heard your words and he said something, Haley. I'm just putting it out there.
When we get him on here, okay.
Power that I have, I'm sure. But I'm going into this season and I'm trying to be open-minded. And I've said this multiple times. I think this is like I love the fact that Boston was willing to buy into this duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and say, like, even if it came down to moving off Marcus Smart and Grant and all these guys that were such a tight collective unit, like, I respect that they're putting into them. They went to get Porzingis, and I think this is their season that they're either going to really elevate or I think conversations, I don't know. I think conversations might change. I mean, what do you think, Coach? Like, if it comes to Jason Tatum and let's say they're playing, I'm not going to say Milwaukee because I think that matchup could go either way, but maybe Miami again, maybe the Cavs or something. They get out in game 6 or 7. Are we having the same conversation? I mean, what is this? Jason Tatum's 6th season? 7th?
6.
6?
7 years. 7 years.
7th, right. So, I mean, is that on him or is that just me being too hard on one player?
No, I mean, that's the way the business is. You got to back it up when it really counts to get the props that you may deserve or may not deserve. Like I said, I'm just biased. I've seen him do some impressive things. I know he's a great person, which not everyone can be, which can't be said for everyone.
Right.
Probably doesn't affect your superstar status, what kind of a person you are, but I know he's a good one.
Yeah.
And I know he's improved his game. He's always been a good scorer. He's added his passing. He defends. He's gotten stronger. So hopefully, I mean, obviously I hope the Jazz win the NBA championship this year, but if we can't get it done, I'm still rooting for those guys. And I think you're right, though. I think it's pretty much time where they got to get it done or things are going to change.
Right.
But hopefully this is the year they do it because I think they've been knocking on the door since I was there and just had to get over the hump. And maybe this will be the year if JT stays healthy.
So Jay, one more thing. Jay always kind of says like by year 5, like that's his thing. By year 5, you know who a player is. I feel like Tatum might be the exception to that. Do you feel like he's still got, because we see where he is, but we all still expect more from him. Do you think he has a next level to go to? Do you think he has that?
I think his next level is just continuing to be more well-rounded as a player. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for his defense, but with his size and length, he can really disrupt things. His passing has been a point of contention, but I think it's been a massive upgrade over, his first couple seasons in the league. And yeah, I think he just has to get it done in the playoffs to get that last piece of respect from the
Haleys.
The Haleys of the world that are still
of course.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have come through the NBA and been superstars, but not necessarily been the best player in the league. How many superstars played when Jordan was in the league and he was, pretty much the MVP almost every season, or at least you had your Barkleys, your Birds, your Isaiah Thomases, your Patrick Ewings, your Karl Malones. Like those guys were all superstars, and JT may never break through and be like the top guy for that season with Jokic and Giannis and Luka and our guy Shea. But he's right in that category. So if the Celtics can rhyme off a couple more good seasons and he stays healthy, then he'll be in the conversation for MVP for hopefully the next 8 years.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
You brought up our guy. I know I said I'm going to let you go, and I will, I promise. But you brought up our guy. So Canadian basketball. So we're around the same age, you and I. So we saw Canadian basketball when it was like, ugh. And it's really become something. Like there's great players coming out every year. And Team Canada obviously just now medaling in FIBA. So talk like how are you proud? Like do you see the come up? Like I think I know what inspired it. Obviously I think the Vince Carter effect was real. But what are your thoughts on the RJ Barretts and the Shays of the world? All these guys coming in sharp.
Just so you know, Coach, I did not know. This was just recently. I didn't realize Jamal Murray was Canadian. I did not know that.
Yeah, same.
I did not. I did not know that Jamal Murray was from Canada. I did not know that.
Ironically, Jamal's one of the few guys, and Shea, who stayed in Canada for high school, at least in that little era of guys. Most of those guys were leaving and going to high school in the U.S. Around 11th grade probably. So I've been lucky to be around it for maybe 10, 12 years now. Canada basketball, different age groups, some years senior team, some years other teams. And I have to say that I was extremely proud, to see it happen. I was on the staff in 16 when we lost to France to go to the Olympics. I watched when, we blew the game against Venezuela to go to the Olympics. I watched when we blew the game against, I want to say, Czech Republic in Victoria to go to the Olympics. So like 3 or 4 pretty massive letdowns and disappointments, and just wanted so bad for the team to get over the hump. So when watching that game against Spain and seeing Shea, take a left-hand dribble toward the nail and then kick it to Dylan for a slot three above the break three that went in and iced the game was like, it brought tears to my eyes. And most of the tears were because of how proud I was that the guys stuck with it and we kept battling, and everyone that I knew put so much work into it, whether right down from the GM to the managers, you know what I mean? Everyone was wanting that so bad. So, and then a little piece of it was crying because I was in Utah, not there to celebrate guys. But I think that it took a couple guys to make it, to motivate or at least make the young guys coming up believe that they could also do it. And the example, like for me, when I was growing up playing, not that I was going to be on this level, I wanted to be an NBA player. And then I realized I had three things working against me, which was my size, athleticism, and skill level.
Was that all?
Kind of need that. That's important to have that.
I wasn't that disciplined either. So four things. But I remember when Steve Nash won MVP for the first time, and I was just starting my coaching career, and I had kind of given up on my playing career. I went overseas, and I was like, I kind of chickened out. This isn't for me. I'll do something else. But like seeing that made me sad because I was thinking like, man, if I had known that it was possible when I was a kid, maybe I would have dedicated myself. I would have believed in myself. I would have pushed a little harder. I could have been a little bit better, So I think the guys that are, in their 20s and 30s now, they've had those role models to say, hey, this guy came from the exact same place that I come from. There's zero reason why I can't make it. So I'm going to dedicate myself. I'm going to train. I'm going to do things right and see what happens. So a little belief in yourself and a little confidence is a dangerous thing. So seeing the Andrew Wiggins and the Steve Nash and the Jamal McGloris make it, I'm sure had a big, part to do with it. And like you said, the Vince Carter effect, just having someone like that right in front of your face as a Canadian fan is massive. So hopefully it keeps going. I don't know. I'm not really involved in the U19s and the junior levels anymore, so I'm not sure what we have coming down the pipeline, but hopefully it stays full and we can compete for medals for the next whatever many decades.
Well, I coach a U11 team, and let me tell you, there's some good young kids coming. There's my U11 team. We strong.
Your son?
Yeah, my son.
Yeah, don't leave that part out, coach.
Starting early.
His little man is on the squad too, so don't leave that part out. So absolutely,
the future is bright.
I'll hit you up in 8 years when he's NBA eligible.
Well, hopefully, I'm still here. I'll be listening.
All right. All right, Coach. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. So what's the night look like? Is it back to film study?
I'll do a little bit of film. I'm probably going to go across the street for dinner and then hopefully get to bed early because tomorrow night, like I said, is going to be a 2 a.m. home and 6 a.m. wake up and play with whatever toys are on the go in the morning. So
right back at it.
I'll get ready.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it.
Good to talk to you, Coach.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
you. I'll definitely be paying more attention. Yep. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good night.
Yeah, man.
Too.
Utah Jazz team. They look like they're onto something.
They started off slow, but I'm telling you, there's the when you look at the talent, the guys that they have there, they're really young. They're one of the teams. If they stay together, stay healthy, right, in a couple of years, a piece or two, like they're gonna be good. I know they're coached. Like I don't know if you guys know how much you know about coach. Like if you go back and look at him, look at the head coach Will Hardy. Like they come from they're good coaches. So I feel like this team. I'm not just saying it because he's he's a friend of a friend. So the guy that I play basketball with every week, right, is the one who connected us. Shout out to JJ who ate my 4 game winners last week. All 4 games.
Nice.
I still got it, baby. But those are the things when you look at a team. Like sometimes you see a team, it's just like they're in disarray. There's nothing, right? There's no draft picks, no young talent.
Charlotte,
these guys
excuse me.
These guys have a lot. Yeah, these guys have a lot. So, and Utah, what else are you going to do in Utah? Right? There's not much. So you want the Jazz to be good if you live in Utah.
I just saw Danny Ainge basically blow the unit up and he's starting over. And I'm thinking to myself, I know Danny Ainge and I know what kind of GM he is. And I know what he's up to. It might not look like it right now, but this team is going to turn into something courtesy of Danny Ainge. It's 100%. Going to happen. 100% it's going to happen. Don't be surprised in the next 2-3 years if this team is in the Western Conference Finals. I would not be surprised to see that.
So
That would not be.
I'd like to do. We got 2 super chats that I want to run through, and then I got headlines. You guys cool with headlines? All right.
Yeah.
So first one from ASAP Henny. How do the Warriors? This is perfect timing, Haley. You didn't think he was going to call you out, did you? By the way.
No, I had no. I mean, I was technical difficulties, but then I was able to come in and hear a little bit of the podcast. But no, I didn't know. But I liked it. It was a good call out.
Since it's a Warriors question, how do the Warriors handle Wiggs? Dude's been trash.
What exactly do you classify as trash? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What do you classify as trash?
Are his points per game down? Because let's be honest, that's what everyone's looking at.
Right? That's what it is. That's all it is, Tone. That's what it is.
It's everything. He's been getting the boards, but unfortunately, we're so quick to jump on a player when we're 8 games into a season. He needs to be better, but he knows that. And from what I've seen, he just seems gassed. And I think maybe, missing so much of last season, I don't know what workouts look like over the off season, but I think that he's just getting back into shape. And I think that when he's back in shape, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So keep sleeping on him, because I think your whatever team you're a fan of is going to have to deal with him pretty soon. So don't give up on Wiggs. He'll be fine.
Do you just think he's kind of getting back to game speed? Because people don't realize there's the speed that we play at, there's the speed that NBA players practice at, and then there's like game speed, and it's
the lights come on.
It's different,
especially for the Warriors. That's a whole nother speed.
And they play fast. 100%. So I could see that.
Yeah.
This wasn't necessarily a Jazz question, which is why I saved it here. Sorry, I'm cutting off your head.
No, you're good.
Lauri Markkanen shooting ability as a 7-footer is remarkable. Period. Can we agree that second tech on Giannis was egregious?
Tone, I wanted to fight that ref, and I'm a former ref, and I wanted to fight that official for real. I for real wanted to fight him. That's how pissed off I was at him. Tone, when the game starts, before the game starts, whenever because I ref college basketball for 5 years, and I made it clear right in the beginning when we talked to the captains, and I told them, quote, this was my speech, take a look around. Nobody bought a ticket to come see me. Mm-hmm. You guys are the show. Right. The biggest problem that referees have, a lot of these referees have, is they involve themselves in the show. Yeah. You are not part. These guys are going to involve you in the show. You don't need to involve yourself. Don't worry about that. Nobody came to see you. So to throw Giannis out for something like that, now you made yourself a part of the show. And it just looks bad on your part. It looks terrible on your part. And I was so upset with that dude last night. So upset with him. That was nonsense.
I actually have a video coming out soon, so you guys stay tuned. But I made something. But one thing I wanted to say is it's interesting. We're pushing players to show up and play 82 games and play for the entire season and don't let fans down that travel all around the country to play. But then they pay hundreds of dollars to go to and attend an NBA game, and then you kick them out for something that was absolutely not understandable, and something that any other player or multiple other players would have never gotten ejected for. Maybe fined, but not ejected. So there's no precedent across the board. And welcome to my day-to-day life, because I see this with the Warriors. I've seen this you see it with every team, but certain teams deal with this a little bit more, and it is what it is, but it's just, it ruins the quality of the game. And I agree with you.
It just does, yo. It does.
But not only everything you said is correct, both of you, but that's the intensity I want to see from Giannis, because if you watch that game, they were going back and forth.
Yes.
And he was doing a good, and that was just emotion. And let's be honest, he flexed quickly, and he may have said obscenities. I get it, but he turned it off quick and he got back. It's not like he stood there and did it like for a long time. It was fast. No. So that's the part that is like, I want to see that from him. I want to see that from guys. So
that's part of the game too, Tone.
Of course,
that's part of the game. It wasn't egregious where he got in his face and he was putting hands on him. But let's be honest, Tone. If you crack if we're in a game and we're going back and forth, Tone, and you crack a 3 on me and it was in my face, odds are you probably gonna say something to me about it. If I'm in transition and we going back at it, we going back and forth, we're in a dog fight, and I end up throwing it over the top of you and getting the and one. Tone, I'm probably going to say something to you about
Listen.
That's part of the game.
tell you a story. I don't think I've shared on this show before, but I've shared before. I've told you I did like my summer camps at the University of Kentucky, and there'd always be old players that would come in. And so I'm coming down the right side. I get a pass from Allen. Anyways, doesn't matter from who. I get a pass. I go up, nice little easy dunk. I mean, like, because I wasn't like a high flyer, just like a normal. Yeah, I could dunk back in the day. I showed you that video. A little, nothing crazy. But just standing outside of the key, okay, who was a defender on the other team. And I mean, I did not dunk on him. Let's be clear. But he was close, and he was the closest player, was Kenny Skywalker. And as I came going back on defense, I looked at him and said, Kenny Groundwalker, because he was the closest one in the vicinity. So that's what you do. Right. We didn't fight about it. I didn't get thrown out. Like, that's what you do. Like, my 11-year-olds, when I sometimes put up my hand, show them to get them to shoot over me, because if they can shoot over me, anybody that's 11, they're shooting over them. And if the shot goes in, you know what every single one of them does? Too small, right? Good. That, like, I don't know why that's a bad thing.
It's not. And I'm thoroughly convinced that I don't know all of the refs' history. When I get really mad, I'm not going to lie, I'll like go on Reddit and just go down a rabbit hole of like hatred, because like certain refs just, they piss me off. They really make me angry. But I'm thoroughly convinced some of these dudes have never played a sport in their life, because the adrenaline that you feel after completing whatever, if it's, basketball, whatever sport you play, like that, there's adrenaline going through your body. And when you do something right, like you feel it and you want to express that. And I just don't understand why they're trying to. The league is already soft, and that's not just that's not an understatement. Like, it really is. And I'm just over it. I worked
with a ref one time who said before the game started, "This is our game. This is not their game." And I cringed. I cringed when I heard that, because I'm thinking to myself, "No, it is not."
Well, that in Vegas,
these
guys are betting, and we have proof.
No, it is not.
The best not our game. You don't know is there.
As a reporter, like, the one thing I want to do is like break that would be such a groundbreaking case, but like Vegas is too big. Love you, Vegas.
It's not happening. It's not happening. All right, so we've got
Kobe.
No, we don't. We got headlines. So let me read some out to you. The first one is a big one, because it has to do with multiple players. So here we go. Let me just do this real quick.
Hey, you know what? I've got this water, and we've got we've got this red version. We got a red bottle, and we've got a David Beckham version here. Oh my God. We got a blue version
and a blue version. All right. Headlines. So injuries are huge. Yeah. Some names, just to name a few: Anthony Davis, Jamal Murray, Walker Kessler, we talked about earlier. Tyler Hero is now. CJ McCollum, I believe, has a collapsed lung, and others. What's going on? Is it more injuries than usual? Is it that there's just a bunch that are piled in together, really close together? What's happening?
I think it's more of these guys. It's just right on top of each other, and these injuries are maybe a little bit more severe than they normally would be. So, for example, with AD, with the adductor strain. With the adductor spasm. So for those of you guys that don't know, your adductor muscle is the muscle that allows you to lift your leg up when you walk. Oh, so if you it's the same injury that Willis Reed had in Game 7, where he couldn't lift his leg up. He was basically dragging his leg. Anthony Davis doesn't have that, but it's the same muscle where it's strained. If it gets worse, it could be season ending. So it's more of a precaution than anything. Now, we know about Jamal Murray with the hamstring injury. Tone, you can't do anything with hamstring injuries.
No,
nothing. Rest. You can't do once you strain your hamstring, or it doesn't make a difference. You can't do anything with that except rest. Now, what that may suggest to me, when you have a hamstring injury early, maybe he's not in as greatest shape as he possibly could be in coming into camp. I think that
coming in from an injury last year, playing through to the end, right?
It's the length of that season.
A short off season. Like, we've seen these guys with short off seasons. Like, the shorter the off season, it seems, the quicker the injury the next season.
Well, here's the thing, though, Tom. We've seen championship teams, and we've seen guys. The off season for championship teams has been the same for years. The finals is in June. The season starts in October. The season started a week earlier now. That's it. So that doesn't negate the fact that when I'm in the summertime, he decided not to play in the Olympics. I'm sorry, in the FIBA World Championship. Yeah, he decided not to play in that. So with that being said, maybe he's not in as good a shape as he could have possibly been coming into camp. That's not to say that he was out of shape. Maybe he could have gotten himself in better shape. I'm not going to go on a James Harden tandem and go, yo, he's in James Harden shape and he's going to play himself into shape during the season. No, I don't think he's doing that. However, maybe he could have gotten himself in better shape. That's maybe why his hamstring got pulled. He maybe overexerted himself. That's number one with them. Now with Tyler Hero and Cam Johnson rolling their ankles, anybody can step on anybody's foot during the course of a game and roll their ankles. I've actually had a turned ankle, depending on how severe it is. I've had a turned ankle where I felt like I was going to pass out.
Yeah.
But then I've also had a turned ankle where, okay, I'll just tie my shoe back tight and I'm ready to, or not even a couple of y'all, tie my shoe back up and I'm ready to go. So I think that some of these injuries are preventable. And some of these injuries are just something that you can't really foresee. They just happen.
Well, I also think like they specified with the Jamal Murray thing that I don't necessarily think anything's pulled. I think it's more of a same like with Anthony Davis. It's more of a precaution of maybe there's some soreness, so we're just going to sit him out for the month and make sure that the injury that he's had previously doesn't get worse, because I know what happens if you overexert it, right? See,
that's the thing though, H. If it's just a precaution and it's not that bad, that's where we differ, because that's part of it. You're going to have knick-knack injuries. You got to play through this stuff. If it's something that's preventable and it's something that's not going to get worse, where I got a hamstring injury, I'm probably not going to tear it. So let me play through it because it's not going to get worse, as opposed to, hey, if you keep playing on this thing like a broken bone where I got a stress fracture, if you keep playing on this thing, the space is going to get bigger. That's different than I got a hamstring strain and maybe some ice and some ibuprofen and I can get back out there and get going. That's different than a broken bone. Those two things are not the same.
Yeah.
Headline number 2. The number is 200.
I don't think so, Tim.
It is. So let me tell you. We talked about Karl Malone. In his career, he missed 20 games.
I think it was 18, something like that.
In how many years? In 20 years?
20 seasons.
He should be the GOAT just for that.
John Stockton played 19 or 20 years. He missed
20 years.
22 games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tim Duncan played for 19 seasons. A little bit more. He missed 134 games.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan, 15 seasons, not including retirements, missed 158 games.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little bit higher. Zion Williamson has played, 4 years in the NBA?
We're in year 5, Tom.
We're in year 5. He just missed game 200.
Now, this game that he just missed,
I know it's personal.
In fairness to Zion, he just had a baby. So beautiful. He just had a baby. So I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna hold that one. I'm not gonna hold that one against.
He still missed it.
I won't. Yeah, but he did. He did miss it though. I'm not gonna hold that one against him, but he did miss it.
What's a Derek White on the Celtics? I saw some stat about he's only missed like 1 or 2 games, except for the games where his babies were born.
Yep.
But then there's like LaMelo. Yeah. So then there's LaMelo though. I think he's missed near to the same amount of games that Zion has. It's outrageous.
The NBA headline number 3. The NBA is going back. I said, to the East versus West.
LeBron James.
For the All-Star game. Good thing, bad thing?
I actually think it's a good thing, Tone. But with that being said, it's not going to matter unless these dudes take it serious. You already know how I feel about the All-Star game. I feel like these dudes are afraid of getting shown up. The All-Star game has always been, ever since you were a kid, ever since I was a kid, it's supposed to be the best pickup game in the world. That's what it's always supposed to have been. And the question is can we get back to that? But there's so many things going on that these dudes are actually afraid to compete. I am a fan of bringing the East and the West back. I'm a fan of that. What I want to see, though, is I want to see these dudes actually compete. Coach Mike Malone just said it last year. Coach, how'd you feel about that All-Star game? It was the worst All-Star game that he's ever seen. Ever.
But there's no incentive to play. And look, it's just pride and
yes, it is, Tone. Yes, it is.
Hold on, All-Star Weekend has become something different. I think when we were watching it, it was about the game. Right. There was the All-Stars, the best players in the NBA playing against each other to see which conference was better, the East or the West. There was still some of that, right? Baseball has it a little bit with the American, versus National League. But I think the NBA weekend has changed. It has become like an event, a gathering. They have meetings and they have international, panels and all this stuff. And I think it's just the game is at the end and they play the game. And I don't think that anyone cares.
That was the highlight of the weekend, Tone. The dunk contest and the All-Star game. That was the highlight of the weekend. Yeah. That's what it was. Only except now it's all the other extracurricular stuff. And the game has basically become secondary. And that's because these dudes got so many other things going on off the court. That's why the competition isn't the competitors are there. They just won't compete because I think they're afraid of being shown up. I stand on that.
Do you think that the winner of the East-West, that team gets the home court advantage in the finals? Or is it money? Should they do like the NCAA tournament? 500 grand to the winner.
I think money would definitely be more of an incentive than like what they do in baseball. If the National League wins, the National League team wins, and they get home field advantage. So I think that's a little bit different. So and to Peace Warrior, just so you know, Peace Warrior, New Orleans has only played 8 games this year. Zion has only missed 2 games, and one of them he missed for a personal reason. That's it. So it wasn't like he's actually been playing. So I'm hoping that I can get 60 games out of him, but we'll see.
Headline number 3 goes to, I guess, Team USA. We'll call it. Austin Reeves was selected over Jalen Green of the Rockets. Apparently, last night before the game, coach of the Rockets said, "Hey, Jalen Green, how you feel about that?" And Jalen Green showed him and had a heck of a game. Austin Reeves, not so much.
Tone, I love this, yo.
News, not news.
I do. This is news. I love this. This brings back as a coach, part of your job is being a motivator. Part of your job is being a motivator. Even as players, you can motivate guys in a number of different ways. Last I checked, I remember the 1995 Western Conference Championship when David Robinson was receiving the league MVP trophy, and Drek said to him, "Yo, he got your trophy. What you gonna do about it?" No, that's your trophy. Wait a minute. What is he doing with the MVP? That's your trophy. They saying he the best player in the league. Oh, you think so? Let's get to the bottom of that. Well, same logic. Well, Austin Reeves is on the Olympic team. How you feel about that? Is he better than you? Matter of fact, not only is he better than you, they picked him for the Olympic team, so they saying he better than you. So are you gonna do something about that? What? You think he's better than me? No, let's get to the bottom of that right now. I am all in favor of motivating guys. This is great for the league, Tone, and this is great. This is great for players too. Great.
Agreed.
You agree?
Yeah, Jalen Green is greater than Austin Reeves. Absolutely. Austin Reeves is one of the most overrated. I like the kid. I think he's really special, but I think he's a Laker, so of course he's going to get a bit more love from the media, but I think that he started off slow, and Jalen Green hasn't been, his best self either. So I'm excited. Maybe this will be a little rivalry we'll get to see, and it is good for the young guys to be motivated to want to appear for these really special events, So
I want to know how you say he's special. He's really good. I like him. So overrated.
He is. I mean, both can be true.
Lifted him up and knocked him down in the same.
Both can absolutely be true. I think if you watch the amount of calls that he gets as what is he, a second-year player, third-year player now?
Second year.
He's a rookie last year. I always forget. Gets that contract. Wait, is he a third?
I think no, he was a rookie last year.
So he got a massive contract coming off his rookie year.
Or is this year 3? Yeah, you might be right.
I think this is year 3 with him. I'm almost come.
So
30. All right,
yeah.
30.
So if you just watch like the calls he gets, and I mean he's a role player essentially. He's gotten that starting spot. He started off slow as a starter. And we're watching the Lakers, struggle. Although half their roster hasn't been playing. So actually, Flo, what do you think about the Lakers so far?
Because as of right now, last year I think y'all started the season 2-10. We're on that pace again.
They're 0-5 on the road.
0-5, 3-5 as of right now. So
what did I say they should have done last year?
Traded Anthony Davis.
Yep.
That was the best time to move off of him.
Agreed.
I stand on it because
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
And I think the Lakers are on it thinking they need, here we go again. It's the ref's fault. Oh, here we go again. LeBron James needs more help. No, he just needs someone who will be there to play.
Yeah.
He doesn't need another Anthony Davis. He needs an
I
Anthony.
don't think he's going to lose him for a month, though, Tone. I don't think that's going to be the case this time.
You don't think he's going to get hurt again once he comes back?
I don't think it's going to be a month.
I think this injury is worse than they're letting on.
Maybe not this one, but it'll come. But two things, Fluent. One, you heard Kendrick Perkins talking about, the Lakers are interested in getting a third star. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you think that's a real possibility for them? Or is he just talking?
Both. He's just talking because he's Kendrick Perkins, but it's also a real possibility because people look highly at a guy like Austin Reeves. People look highly at, Jared Vanderbilt. Like there's pieces that someone will want that you're going to give them a couple of pieces, role players for a quote unquote star. Like they're not like, who are they going to get? Who's available? Who fits this team? Who like really at this point in the season, who are they going to get? Right. If you throw out some names, I'll tell
Levine, Trae Young.
Levine's an interesting one because I feel like Levine's being wasted in Chicago. Yeah. Heck, Elmer Fudd's being wasted in Chicago. Everybody in Chicago is just being wasted in Chicago. So there's probably guys like that. There's other teams where, they're not living up to their expectations, and by trade deadline, maybe they get one. But there's so much wrong with. I don't know. There's so much wrong with the Lakers. It's always the same thing. They bring in these pieces. They're supposed to be good. They don't jive. They make a bunch of, they're going to make some moves at the trade deadline. They'll finish off strong. And then we'll be like, cool. We'll be looking really forward to next season. And they'll start off like this. And here we go again. People are already calling for coach to be fired. Like, He's been here a season and not a season and a minute, like, and it's let's fire him.
Just like this unit has only been together for a minute.
Exactly.
So can we see what they look like? Can we see what this unit looks like?
I'm already seeing quarter zips with a little Laker logo on Doc Rivers. I don't want that. Like they're already like finding his replacement. It's just
give me a break, yo. Give me a break.
But the thing I think that unlike other organizations, there is a time frame for this team because of LeBron, right? So I understand it, but and for the Lakers, coach is always the first to go. They're always a scapegoat. And in my honest opinion, I do feel bad in a way for like trying to make a team like you said, jive with pieces. Great pieces don't always fit together. And I don't know if Darvin Ham is the guy to get it done. He seems a bit passive, but maybe that's just what we see, and we don't know what goes on in the locker room. He seems like an encouraging coach. He seems like he has tried a lot of different things, but is he really the guy to get it done?
Since we're on the subject, Tone, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Tone, but since we're on the I want you to finish this thought because I got a question for you. I do.
Well, I was going to shift to another because I wanted to talk about the Bucks, but I had one more thing about the Lakers. But if it's on the Lakers, you go ahead.
It's not about the Lakers. No, it's about something completely different.
Okay, so let me say this real quick. Yeah. So because people have been sending me this video, and they're like, "Fluent, what do you think? Fluent, what do you think? Here's LeBron again, passing it off when he should have been shooting." That the game the other night where he drives into the double team and then kicks it out for an open three. Not really open, it was contested, and he misses and the Lakers lose. Mm-hmm. So I'm torn. Here's why I'm torn with this. The pass was the right pass to make. 100%. 100%. He gets double teamed. There's a guy that's open. You kick it to him. That's what you do. That's what a smart basketball player does. The only problem is right in the back of here, there's like a zzz, I'm getting drilled, no pause, by Kobe Bryant's voice that says, the problem with LeBron James, and I'm paraphrasing, this is not the direct quote, but I'm paraphrasing. The problem with LeBron James is he will drive right down into the heart of the defense, forcing a double or sometimes triple team and passing it. And it looks like the right basketball play because that player is open and he passes them the ball and he shoots it. And he puts the ball in someone else's hand to shoot it. He says the difference is that what he should have done was play an angle. And instead of driving right down into the heart of the defense like he did, so in that game that we're talking about, had he instead taken a kind of 45-degree angle to the middle of the paint, he has a one-on-one jumper over his defender, and he's jumping over him, and he's making that little jumper over him, and they win the game. And that's where I'm torn, because he did the right thing, but did he do the right thing because he forced himself to do the right thing, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Versus, you know what I mean? If he goes left, he has a one-on-one and he's shooting over that guy. That guy's not blocking his shot, correct? So
I literally saw KD. I literally saw KD drop it to Nurkic last night for the game winner. I literally just saw him do that.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's the right play, but I have that. That's why I say it bothers me, because that's I like I said, it's right, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, well, maybe he could do that a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
I think it's the amount. I think it's the consistency of him doing that exact same thing, is getting there and passing it out. But a lot of people are gonna say, like, oh, because he doesn't want to take his free throws, or he doesn't want to like take the pressure of taking the last shot of the game and losing the game. But I don't know. I see him do it all the time, though. But I don't really blame him. How can we as outsiders judge a split second decision when you said, like, yes, he could probably get it over the player, but you never know. There's variables of how tall is that player going to be? How athletic is that player going to be?
Well, no, he knows who's on him. He knew who was on him. Who was on him last night? Or the night before, excuse me. Who was on him? Or whenever this happened. Wasn't it the Phoenix game? No.
Are we talking about KD or are we talking about James?
No, James.
Let's see. So who was on him?
I don't even remember.
I think Highsmith was on him. And Bam helped. Going down the gut.
Yeah.
Yes, Miami, right. It's Highsmith. How tall is Highsmith?
6'8", 6'7", something like that.
He's getting that shot over. But it's not just that. I think for his career, again, it's nitpicking. It's nitpicking because he's forcing the defense to do something, and he's making the right basketball play. So I applaud that. I applaud that. And like I said, it's just this voice that keeps bothering me. Like, I wonder if he instead said, how can I get my own shot? So instead of doing that, let me do this. Because then you'd eliminate all those other people who say, oh, all he does is he always passes off, which he doesn't, by the way. Like, I think he's leading the league in clutch baskets this year, like at 100 years old. So he's still,
and we also forget that, and we also forget, Tone, that's the way the play was designed. I'm watching the game, and the camera is on Darvin Ham designing the play where Cam Reddish runs around. Who am I thinking about? Wood. He runs around Wood to the corner. James is going to come downhill, and if they come, he dumps it off. But if they don't, and it's a one-on-one, he does that. I've just seen the idea that James is even being questioned about something like this. I've seen him deliver so many times in the clutch, whether it's a basket, whether it's a pass, whether it's a steal, whether it's a block. Like, this is ridiculous to even talk about this sort of stuff. The guy's got I think he's one game winner off for the most ever, and he's got the most game winners in NBA history in the playoffs. He averages the most points in NBA history in Game 7. In NBA history, and nobody has done that.
More, they want him to do more,
but it's still not enough. Give me a break, man.
You had a question non-Lakers, and then I'm going to get to my Bucks thing. What was your?
Well, you wanted to talk about the Bucks, Tone. I wanted to talk to you about the question that I wanted to ask you. You got on me about Minnesota last year, and I told you that I wasn't off the train because Cat missed 2/3 of the season last year. Tone, my bags are still packed. Talk me off this Minnesota train, Tone, because I'm on it.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm back on it.
My bag. I've never gotten off this train, Tone.
Are you kidding me?
Talk me off this Minnesota train, Tone, because I'm on it. I've been on it, and I'm still on it, Tone. Talk me off this Minnesota train. I'm watching an Anthony Edwards, who I said 2 years max. He's going to be the best two guard in the game. I think he's going to be the league MVP at some point. They got the best defense in the league. Rudy Gobert is at the top of the league. I'm not a big fan of defensive rating, but I understand that it's important. The reason why I'm not a big fan of defensive rating because Cat is second in the league in defensive rating. Give me a break. With that being said, Anthony Edwards, I think 2 years max. He's going to be the best two guard in the game. 2 years max. We're going to have a conversation, Tone, at the end of this season. As good as Alex Caruso is, he might be the best on-ball defender in the game, Alex Caruso. And I'm president. I'm a Herb Jones stan. I am a Herb Jones stan, and I'm president of the Drew Holiday Club. But I think we're going to have a conversation. Jaden McDaniels is going to enter that conversation by kicking the door in. He's looking like one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Naz Reid is in the conversation for the best rotation player in the game. Tone, talk me off this Minnesota train because I'm on it. I'm still on it.
I don't think I'm gonna, because the one thing I didn't think they were gonna do last year was guard the perimeter, and then the injuries occurred, and because your thing was that Cat and more Gobert would clean that up, and we never saw them healthy, and they are what I said they were going to be last year. This year, they're getting defense from everywhere, and Anthony Edwards did take a step forward, and I want to say they allowed the lowest points per game, at least in the Western Conference, maybe in the NBA.
Well,
I think just over 100 something points. So that's the difference, and it's actually great that you asked that question. So let me relate it to what I wanted to talk about. Because the worst perimeter defending team in the NBA is the team I told you is not going to win the NBA final because of it, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. Because if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, they've given up, I believe, season highs, maybe career highs, to Jalen Brunson, to Cam Thomas, to Dennis Schroeder, to basically every perimeter player that plays the Bucks goes off their best scoring game because Dame doesn't play defense. And no matter that you have Lopez and Giannis back, it doesn't matter. The perimeter is getting torched. And in this league, in this perimeter-driven NBA, that's not good.
When your point of attack guy is a cone, so to speak, it really screws with your defense. Everybody talks about, well, what about Donovan Mitchell in Utah? What about Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland with both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? So we're clear, guys. Donovan Mitchell showed up in the NBA. He was a defensive guy coming out of Louisville. He just wasn't an all-league defender playing in the NBA, but he did play defense. I expected him to be better because he was a defensive guy when he came out of Louisville. He was a guy who played defense, and he is going to compete on the defensive end. Dame seems lost. Dame, when I say Dame seems lost, I mean Dame seems lost in the aspect, not that he doesn't know how to play defense, more like he doesn't want to play. Like he wants to get, I almost put him in that same category with Luka, where he just wants to get back to the basketball. Instead of actually competing on the defensive end, I think he just wants to get back to the basketball. Like a punch-drunk boxer. I think that I could hit you more than I could stop you from hitting me. That's what I think about when I think about Dame.
That's what he did in Portland, right? The other guys would go off and he would just outscore them. And I think he does the same thing where he takes kind of defense as a time to rest. And it's not like he has a good defense. Like Beasley's not a good perimeter defender either. So now you got two guys on the perimeter that can't defend, and teams are just going off on them. And look, they're going to win regular season games. But when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to get exposed. And then to answer your question, when you look at Minnesota, who starts for them? Conley. Older, but still a good defender. Gobert, great defender. Cat, okay, but still tall. Anthony Edwards, I think an underrated defender. And like you said, and McDaniels. So they've got defenders all over the court. That's what's going to make what they're doing sustainable.
Yes.
So I say for you, stay on the Minnesota train. I say for those of you in Milwaukee and surrounding area, get off. They're not winning jack. You're going to regret. And I said this when they did. You remember, I'm sticking to what I said. They're going to regret trading for Damian Lillard, not just because of the money, but because of the game at this point in his career. Remember, we were talking about Toronto. I said Toronto better not trade for him. The Lakers better not trade for him because it just doesn't help where they're at.
I just feel like with giving up your best perimeter defender in Jrue Holiday and Grayson Allen, who a lot of people will say Grayson Allen gets fried. He will compete on the defensive end. When you have that on your crew, that supplements a lot of what else is going on your defense. So when you got rim protectors and you got guys on the perimeter like Jrue Holiday, who's a great perimeter defender, and Grayson Allen, who will compete, that enhances your defense as opposed to a guy who won't really compete on the defensive end. And I think that also, too, as good as Damian Lillard is in terms of a player, you do need to demand that from him. Dame, you need to defend. If you don't defend, if you don't defend, we're not going to win.
I agree, but you know the saying, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think that trying to change a player or ask for effort, I think Dame will give you that effort. I'm just saying that effort, is that going to be equivalent to enough for them to win a chip? I don't think so. But what you said, Fluent, is you said Toronto shouldn't trade for them. I think that's bad-mouthing Dame in a way. Like you said, where he's at in his career, Dame is still one hell of a good scorer, an incredible one. But I agree with where you're coming from, because is it the right piece for what Milwaukee was doing? And yes, to give up Drew Holiday, who we're now starting to see heat up for the Celtics. People are like, oh, he's not the same. Like, no, he just had to find his rhythm, and he's sure finding it. So I think that they can win a chip. I don't think it's going to be this season. I think it's going to be next season, but I think they have to get some more defensive pieces to even hope for a shot. And I think we're still a season out.
Dame, I know you love Dame. Dame needed to go to a team where he was next to a good to great perimeter defender.
Yeah.
And a great, like,
Tone. Giannis.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Giannis cleans up a lot of mistakes, Tone.
He's the defender in the back that I was about to say, and a great defender in the back when they make a mistake. But on the perimeter, he needed a great defender too, and that's what he doesn't have.
So with that being said, Tone,
Dame and Drew, and get rid of Middleton. Yeah. You would have seen a completely different team.
But if you talk about action, Tone, in the pick and roll league that we play in, a lot of action that Dame has put in, the guy that's pick and rolling is probably the guy that Giannis is covering. So Giannis is going to be the guy on the perimeter defending a lot of times, so he could clean up a lot of Dame's messes. The problem with Dame on defense on the perimeter is the same problem that I have with a lot of these guys, the competition aspect of it. At least Kyrie Irving will compete. Luka will give me minimal effort after he gets beat. He will never recover.
No.
Same thing with Dame. You give him one thing, he will not recover. He is out of the play. James Harden. These guys just want to get back to the basketball. And that's not a winning recipe. It's not. Now, Luka looks to me like he's trying to compete more, and I respect that. But this is something that should have already been in place, as opposed to a guy in Damian Lillard, who I think we're in year 12 now, Tone. And we're in year 12, and we on a crew that's trying to win the NBA championship. And if we're trying to win the NBA championship, what you can't be is you can't be a guy that's not at minimum going to compete on the defensive end. We're not going to win. We're not.
And I got another problem. The Boston Celtics. Their starting five, solid. Their bench in pretty much every statistical category ranks like 29th or 30th. FYI, there's only 30 teams in the NBA. And I think that's going to be a problem because, like any team, but they're one injury or they're one tough matchup in the playoffs away. If your bench gives you nothing, you know this, in the playoffs, you're done. I know the rotation shrinks down to like 7 or 8 people, but I mean, you can't have the worst ranked bench in the league and expect to win a chip.
I think this is an easy fix, Tone. And the reason why I think this is an easy fix is because I think you got the pieces. I watched in 1989. I watched Mark Aguirre ask Chuck Daly to take him out of the starting lineup and put Dennis in the starting lineup. And with Dennis going into the starting lineup, it just made them so much better because Mark Aguirre gave them something different coming off the bench. Well, how about and again, I'm not saying that Dennis Rodman is in the same caliber as this player, but how about we do this, Tone? How about we keep Drew Holiday at the 1? How about we move Jaylen Brown over to the 2, which is his natural position? How about we move Jason Tatum to the 3, which is his natural position? How about we put Al Horford at the 4 and start him? And how about we have KP at the 5? How about we bring Derek White off the bench? So now what that's going to do is that's going to bolster our bench in terms of production. When you talk about scoring, when you talk about defense, we'll bring him off the bench. We also got Hauser. Get this kid Brissett some more minutes because you need dirty work guys. Add that to the fact, Tone, of instead of trading guys, this is the same logic that I had about Bam years ago when everybody wanted to trade him. Demand that these guys get better. Peyton Pritchard, you need to make shots. You wanted to be traded last season because you weren't getting enough playing time. Well, you're playing now. Well, you need to produce. You do the other things in terms of distributing, in terms of playing hard, but we need you to make open shots. You know how I feel about a guy, Tone, in the NBA that can't make open shots. If you can't make open shots, you are useless on the floor if that's something that's necessary. I feel like Peyton Pritchard is a guy, if he makes open shots, not only if he makes open shots, because he can, he's proven that he can, him implementing Brissett more into the rotation, because he looks like he could be one of the better dirty work guys in the game. Hauser can make shots and also stretch the defense the way he does. Derek White now comes off the bench and he can bolster that offense and that defense. This isn't as bad as everybody thinks it is, and demand more from these guys.
So you think they've got the right pieces, they just need to move. Horford though? Horford coming starting?
Now, let me ask you a question, Tone. What are you asking for from before we go any further in this conversation? Tone, at the 4, what is your job at the 4?
Rebound, play some D.
Can I get 15 to 20 minutes of that from you? I'm not asking for 30, 35. Okay. Can I get 15 to 20 minutes of that from you sparingly, like in the first quarter? Give me 5 or 6 minutes, then we'll rotate. Same logic with let's see. In the third quarter, the same logic where we'll rotate him in and out of the lineup. He doesn't have to play 35, 40 minutes, Tone. We don't have to do that.
The thing is with Horford, so if you watch the last game was up versus Philly, you can tell age is creeping up on him, and that's totally fine. Maybe 20 minutes, but I think that you're seeing a different Al Horford than we saw in 2022, where we, in the championship. So I don't know if he's going to be the same piece, and I still think that there may be a piece away. I don't know if they can still go out and get somebody. Maybe it is what you said, just kind of like switching up that starting lineup, and you really believe that could be the switch up that they need.
I do really feel like that. I also feel like at some point maybe you can put some pieces together and get another dirty work guy. But I watched the Lakers win the NBA championship with Shaq and Kobe and Robert Horry and AC Green at the 4. I saw that. Because he didn't need to do much. Yeah. Give me a solid 15, 20 minutes. Be that vet, be that dirty work guy. Because Al Horford can still make a shot. Al Horford can still rebound. I don't need him out here for 25, 35 minutes. I don't need him to do that. If I got the guys that I have in place in the position that they need to be in, Jaylen Brown is a 2 guard.
I can't get this out of my head. I need you to. I'm sorry. I just need you to say, I don't need you for a whole game. I don't need you for a whole half. I just need you for 1 quarter. Can you give me Can you give me 1 quarter?
He can.
No, I can't give you. Well, if you could give me 2 quarters.
2 quarters. Right.
Yeah, give me 2 quarters. That's I don't need you to give me a whole game. No, can you give me 2 quarters, big fella? That's it.
Yeah.
Can you give me 2? That's all I'm asking for. I can get the rest of the stuff from everybody else. I think this unit is contrary to what everybody's saying about how horrible his bench is. Demand more from these guys and switch up the lineup.
All right. I think that's beautiful.
We still have to remember too, their coach is young, still new to figuring out things. So we'll see if that plays a part into any of this as well. I understand they have a good staff. They have a great staff actually, but I wonder if that'll play into it at all. As well as we're docking points from the Bucks, but we aren't talking about all the pieces, incredible defense pieces and bench pieces that the Celtics lost over the offseason. So I think that could just be as influential for them as it was for Milwaukee. All
right, so we have some super chats, and then I have the link in the chat. I didn't hit send yet. I don't know. Do you want to invite some people up if we have some time?
I don't know.
That's no. All right.
Today.
Let's do some. Yes, Andrew G. I am a biased Lakers fan, and have I ever shied away from that? Here we go. Angie Carr. Hey H. How about them Niners?
What's up, Angie? Look, I'm not sure how you can be feeling so confident about the Packers when you have no chance of anything this season. But I'll take the criticism. I mean, we had a bye week, so I'll give you this. If we lose this upcoming week, you can clown me all you want, but give me a week. Let's see if we can get a win, and then we'll talk.
They should have really signed. They really. I think the Rams signed Carson Wentz just so you guys wouldn't get him, because he would be your starting quarterback. Angie Carr again. What are y'all's NFL picks for this weekend?
Let me pull it up.
Let's see. So we got Indianapolis,
Give us a couple of games, Haley.
I'm gonna start from the top. Oh, speaking of
not the whole slate.
Bears. Yeah. Some good ones. All right, so we've got Bears Ravens. Thoughts there? Or Browns Ravens? My bad. Sorry.
Yeah,
Browns.
I was gonna say.
Oh, that's not even a good game because they're. All right. Let's do Packers Steelers for Angie. Let's give her our picks for that game.
Packers Steelers. The Steelers. Yeah, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's on a tear. Pittsburgh is with no quarterback. TJ Watt is a menace. Mike Tomlin proving he's a great coach. So yeah, I'm all in on Pittsburgh. Packers are heading in the wrong direction. Let's be honest.
Actually, they headed in the right direction. They are. They finally got their quarterback. I think they have their quarterback.
They have their quarterback?
I do think they have their quarterback. They just got Tone. Just so you know, Aaron Rodgers his first year starting with the Packers. He was 5-11. Just so you know. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, sure. Troy Aikman was 1-15, but
right. So let's get his kid some time. Like this is his first year starting.
Jordan Love ain't either one of them guys.
This is his first year starting. We don't know who he is. We don't know. And on top of that, that receiving core with the Green Bay Packers is garbage. So
I like Dobbs. I like the other dude.
You don't like him?
Butterfingers dudes. Every time you throw these dudes the ball, give me a break, man. And making him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Catch the football.
Can I make a football prediction real quick?
Yeah.
Go. I think the Bears and Panthers, which will be the Bears having the first and second overall pick in the draft because they're going to be the worst two teams in the league this year. But I think, again, with the balloons,
there we go.
I think, peace, y'all. The Bears and the Packers. I think this game ends 0-0.
I'm with you. 100%.
A 0-0 tie.
That's a trash game.
If we get a 0-0 tie, oh my God.
No, Carolina just scored a touchdown.
Oh my God. Please don't do that.
Okay, moving on.
Just as I said it. Oh, man.
Yeah, jinx us. I guess Commanders, this is a terrible slate of games. Giants, Cowboys, I guess Cowboys. Commanders, Seahawks. How about that game?
How about the Niners, Jacksonville? How about that? We get off the snide this weekend. Yes, we do. We come down to Jacksonville, and we get off the snide this weekend. We got Debo back. We got a week off. We got to go over some tape. We get off the snide this weekend, and we get back rolling. Yes, we do.
I agree.
Yes, we do.
Broncos, Bills. Is it true that the Bills are no longer in playoff contention, or is that
right?
Did I see something about that? Or
no,
they can only be a wild card at this point, right?
No.
I don't know what
are you talking about?
Broncos have been on a little roll. They've won 3 games.
The Bills are 5-4. They're one game.
Yeah. I just know. I don't know what I saw.
What I know is that the Bears just gave up a punt return for a touchdown. That's what I know.
Yeah, that's trash.
Okay, how about this? Both offenses will go 0-0. Sorry, what was the game? Jacksonville. Oh, Jacksonville's beating the Niners.
No, they're not this weekend. We get off the snide this weekend. We definitely do. We get off the snide this weekend. 100% we do.
Right. Of course, you're picking the Niners. I'm the only one that's realistic and telling you the Jacksonville Jaguars are telling you.
Acknowledge me. Oh, absolutely. We know who you are. 100%. I'm not saying that.
Game, is it bad? Are you worried officially?
Yes. 4 in a row? Yeah. Hell yes. If we lose this weekend, hell yes. I am worried. I'm worried now.
Me too.
I'm worried now, but with Seattle losing last week, we're still in first place. So we back in first place with Seattle losing last week. It's interesting that you don't have to play and you're back in first place. I think that's dope.
You need a quarterback.
I think that's dope. So the fact that we didn't play last week, we back in first place, and Debo is going to be back this week. I think our offense. I think we get back humming. Yes, we do. I think we get back humming, and then the fact I can't understate getting another pass rusher in Chase. That was a big deal. Nobody's really talking about that. Getting another pass rusher, he's going to really help us because Joe Burrow exposed something about us. That's a problem. When you don't get to the quarterback, you get picked apart. And if you think that we're going to let Trevor Lawrence just stand in the pocket all day and throw like we did Joe Burrow, no, that's not going to happen. We can't. We're going to get smoked.
Agreed. Oh,
Leaf, I think you should ask. Hey, I don't know what the
No,
Warriors'
he thinks
antics
like
are.
he calls me a Steph Glazer. He's just mad because we critique Kevin Durant, we critique the Suns. Leaf, I'm very open. I'm open to criticism. The
What
Warriors.
are their antics? What are their antics? What's going on?
Yeah,
Is there,
I don't know what their antics are.
He's just mad that like they're playing better than expected. He doesn't believe in the process, and yeah, Leaf's just a hater for the Warriors.
Okay.
But I mean,
well, Steph
can I bring up something? Actually?
Yeah, of course you can.
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I know it's too small of a sample size to be too totally crazy about it, but thought I'd mention it. The Paperclips are 0-2 with James Harden. Thoughts on that?
It's not too early.
All right, let's go.
You got Buffalo, the Braves with 1 ball, and Russell Westbrook and James Harden, who need the ball in their hands at all times. And unless they tell James Harden, come off the bench, play that 15 or 20 minutes, get acclimated to the system, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
This team's going to implode. And then what's going to happen is Leonard's going to take some days off. James Harden's going to get mad that he gets to get days off and I don't. And then he's going to take some days off. And they're just going to, the Braves are going to brave. They're just going to do what they do. And everyone's going to be like, man, they're so talented. I can't believe they were so good for this stretch. Oh man, if they were healthy, if they yeah, they're going to do what they do. They're done. There's a horrible pickup. He did not fit. As I mentioned, he should be out of the league after this season.
Yeah, agreed.
I said this earlier today, and I'm still standing on it, H. What did the Clippers get together for with James Harden? Why did he get on this crew?
Money, right?
Well, why did this team get together? James Harden, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard. Why did this team get together?
No, they got together to win a chip.
To win the NBA championship. By show of hands, who is the one guy on this crew who's won it? That would be Kawhi Leonard. You know what that means? This is our guy. Yeah. Let's start there. So who has gotten closest to winning it?
Russ.
Okay, that's our lead guard right there. Now.
Playing well.
Absolutely. Not bad.
He was.
Not bad. Not bad.
I said
now,
well.
Absolutely. Paul George.
Great.
Paul George has been to the West Finals.
Yep.
As the man.
Yeah.
James Harden has been to the East Finals as the man. You guys, we're going to play off of Russ. We're going to play off of Kawhi Leonard. That's going to be the deal if we're going to have an opportunity to win. What we're not going to do is we're not going to have Russell Westbrook taking 18 shots and Kawhi Leonard taking 14 shots and going and Russell Westbrook going 6 for 18 from the floor. Even though he wasn't bad last night. 8 assists, he only had 1 turnover. But the difference is we have to establish roles here. What did we get together for? Right? What did we got together? We got together to win this thing. Leonard is the only guy who's won it. Not once. Twice he's won it, and he's been the man on the crew. So this is our guy. This is who we're going through. That's what we'll start with. Russ has been a starting point guard on an NBA finalist team. This is our lead guard right here. Now we got to figure out how we're going to play off these other guys. James Harden, you're going to have to play off the basketball.
Can I pause you for a sec?
Yeah.
I got to ask a question because you said something that as the years go on, I start to wonder. You just said Kawhi's won as the guy. Not both of them. He wasn't the guy on both of them.
No.
He definitely wasn't the guy for the Spurs.
No.
He was the Toronto. Toronto. He was the best player in Toronto. Yep. I'm not saying he wasn't the best player in Toronto.
Right.
But he did go to a pretty perfect situation with a team and a coach and a the team that had won the most games in the Eastern Conference over the past 5 years.
Yep.
Where the best player in that conference left that year.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he won and he was the best player. He wasn't the leader of that team, though.
He was one of the leaders of that team. I will say that. He was not
the leader of that team.
Kyle Lowry was the.
That's like saying Draymond Green was the best player because he's the leader of that team, even though Steph or KD put up more points. So that's
But with that being said, Tone. With that being said, keep going. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. I wonder if.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're maybe overrating Kawhi a little because of the flashes of brilliance because we have not seen it. I get it, injuries, degenerative knees. I get all the reasons why, but I don't think we've really seen anything but flashes of brilliance from Kawhi for one reason or another, because people forget that win that he got in San Antonio. He was still not he played defensively, but he wasn't the offensive load was not on his shoulders. The pressure wasn't on him to win. And yes, I believe he was the finals MVP, but still.
Okay, so let's rewind. So he comes into a quote unquote perfect situation in Toronto. Tone, can you tell the people in the last 3 years before he got there, what happened to Toronto?
They got bounced by LeBron James.
No. They didn't get bounced, Tone. Tell everybody what happened. How did they lose? So in 18, swept out of the playoffs. In 17, games, 5 games. In 16, swept out of the playoffs.
Yes.
And Tone, can you tell everybody here how I feel about when you get swept out of the playoffs?
You had no business being there.
You're not close. So now we get Leonard on the crew and they win the NBA championship. Well, my point in saying that is when you get a guy like that, this thing could go the other way. We could get swept again. Tone, what is my motto on a secretary? My grandmother told me anybody could train a secretary,
but they can screw him up too.
Screw him up.
LeBronto was gone.
He was. That matters. That absolutely matters. 100%.
I'm not saying he stinks. I'm just saying, are we maybe overrating him? Because really, he had one great leadership, best player run. One.
Right.
One.
Now, and with that being said, Tone, when he gets hurt in 21, when he partially tears his knee up.
Yeah.
Don't forget, he was a first-team All-League defender that year. He was an All-NBA performer, and I think that they were on that. He did get hurt. I think they were on their way to the NBA Finals if he doesn't get hurt. But let's get back to what he had done in Toronto. He basically had a career year that one, and you said that was one. You said that was one. When he was on that San Antonio team that won the NBA championship, we're also talking about an old Tim Duncan. I think he was in year 17 when that happened. He was in year 17. Who am I thinking about? I'm thinking about
Tony Parker.
I'm thinking about Manu Ginobili. I'm thinking about all of these guys. As good as they were on the other side. Leonard was becoming that guy. 100% he was. He was the defensive player of the year the next 2 years. He was now moving himself into being an all-NBA performer the next 2 years. But that year, he was an all-league defender. He was becoming something special with being on that crew. And he played great in the finals. And the point that I'm making with him being on that crew,
all NBA player. And I know it's not all about stats. I get that. But let me just throw this out. So I tell you there's a guy who averages 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. And he's a great defender. Is there any championship team that you're saying, yeah, he's definitely the guy that made the difference?
Depending on what he did. Because Robert Horry averaged, I think, less than double figures on the Lakers, and he was knocking down buzzer beaters in order for them to win. So
yeah, but no one's saying that was a great run and he's a great player and an all-time great player. They're not. They're saying, okay, Big Shot Bobby came up in big moments, but that's it. He's not even a Hall of Famer. We're talking about this guy on an all-time great list and we're giving him credit for that championship when, yes, he was. Look, everyone's important on a championship team, but when you're not expected to do anything on one end of the floor,
right?
I'm just saying, I don't want to give him full credit for the Spurs win. So what I'm saying is he had one great season where he was the guy and took him all the way. One. So overrating.
So in that Spurs championship run, the reason why I bring up the Spurs, Tone, is because he was there. He knows what it takes to become a champion. He wasn't, I believe it was year 4 that he was in at that point. I believe it was year 4. I think he averaged 17 a game in the finals. And nobody knew who Kawhi Leonard was in terms of a scorer. Once he took over those duties, once we saw a guy now becoming a great scorer, we didn't know he was that good of a scorer until those duties actually got passed over to him in 15-16, in 16-17, where he's now averaging 25 and 26 a game. When we saw him in the NBA Finals in 2019. Well, if you remember in 2017, and H is not going to like this, if he doesn't get hurt, You keep talking about him getting hurt. I'm not saying that they beat the Golden State Warriors. I am willing to bet every dollar that I have they do not sweep the San Antonio Spurs out the playoffs. I think that series is more of a dogfight than it is a sweep. 100%.
If ifs were wishes or whatever, however the saying goes.
I believe my grandmother said it. If grandma had balls, she'd be grandpa.
There you go.
Which is true. But I bring up Kawhi Leonard playing for San Antonio, and in terms of the championships, I was there, and I was an integral part of what we were doing. So I know what it takes to get there. I know what it takes to win. None of you dudes in here did that. I did that, and I didn't do it once. I did it twice. So I know what it takes to get there. That's the point that I was making about.
That's fair. I feel like we're just Kawhi's a little too high on most people's list because of. And they're giving him too much credit for stuff. But anyways, okay, we can move on. We can move on.
Okay.
But yeah, right. But you're right. And he's played every game I believe he's played all 7 games this year. So hey, good for him. Good for him.
Zion's missed 2 of the 8 games, Tone. I know I'm asking for 60 games.
Can I actually say something?
2. Isn't Zion supposed to be coming on? We better be careful.
Oh yeah. I'm working on it. But speaking of Zion, you guys, is it? Look, I'm glad to see him, and I'm not going to complain that he's here and we're actually getting to see minutes from him. But man, I've been watching, and granted, actually the last game Brandon Ingram was back, and I saw Zion. I can't remember who they're playing. I've watched so much. We watched so many.
Play Oklahoma City. Let's see.
I don't think it was OKC. It might have been did they play Detroit? Did they play
the Pacers not too long ago too?
Wasn't them, but it was one of those maybe smaller market teams. But Zion just. Is it going to take him a good amount of time to get back to where he was? Or is this Zion, what we're seeing from him? Because if he's slow, he doesn't play defense. He's like, from what I've seen. I mean, he's great.
Heavy. Doesn't really help on the weak side in terms of a team defender. He's not very good. No. So is this what, and Tone, you know where I'm at with it. By year 5, this is probably who you are. So can I expect Zion moving forward? Is he a 20 to 23 a game guy moving forward? Am I going to get some better seasons out of him?
If we don't even know what playoff Zion looks like. How does he perform?
Zion, unfortunately, is going to be a what if, one of the biggest of all time. And speaking of what ifs, on Tuesday, on its Fluent Top 10s, I'm going to do the 10 biggest what ifs in NBA history. Join us Tuesday at 9.
What if Wilt was real?
What's that?
What if Wilt was real?
What if Wilt was a real person?
What if? Well, that's George Marcus. We all know that's George Marcus. I might even do, sometimes we could do 2 top 10s. So maybe I'll do NBA and NFL. What biggest what if?
Jay, I have to ask you this because when we were on our podcast, Gold Blooded on Sunday, I kept getting, the chat was like hammering me with these, and I had your back, but it was on something that it was really hard to have your back on. So I want to see what you actually said. Everybody was commenting that I think it must have been the panel or something, that you said that Steph Curry lived at the line. So I want to ask you if that's what you said, in what context, because I know people are tripping. I
did say that. I did Steph Curry. I said Steph Curry lives at the line for the way he plays. The reason why guys like Damian Lillard, the reason why guys like LeBron James, the reason why Donovan Mitchell, the reason why those guys get to the free throw line more, because they play more downhill. Where does Steph Curry live? Steph Curry lives on the long ball line, and he lives on the perimeter. Tone, I believe the number that you gave me, this was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. I think it's 1% of the time guys are fouled on 3-pointers. 1%. Steph Curry, I think he averages over the last 8 years. I think he's averaging of 10 threes a game, something like that. I think he's averaging something like,
for how many years? The last how many years?
Over the last decade.
The last 6. I'll tell you the last 6 because I happen to have that. The last 6 is 12.
Okay, so he's averaging 12, and in conjunction with how many shots Steph Curry averages a game? What is he averaging? Like 20 shots a game, maybe?
Less.
He is in the same time frame. He's averaging 20 shots a game.
So just so you know, H, that's 60% of my shots are coming from the long ball line, which means that 1% of the time on every 3 out of 5 shots I take, I'm going to the stripe. Every other time, I'm either shooting the long ball or I'm shooting in the mid-range. That's it. I'm not really going downhill that much. If Steph Curry is going downhill more, he would probably get to the line more if he was going downhill. But that's not his game. That's not who Steph Curry is. That's not to say that he can't get downhill, because he does play at the rim, but he doesn't play at the rim like Kyrie Irving. Right. He doesn't play at the rim like Donovan Mitchell. He doesn't play at the rim like De'Aaron Fox. He's not doing that. No.
Yeah.
But 5'3", he's in that same time frame. He's only averaging 5 free throws a game.
He's averaging 5 free throws a game this season. And I also want to say, Jay, you're talking about living at he's on the perimeter, which is fair. But the way Steph Curry is double and triple teamed more than any of those other guards, Kyrie, Fox, any of those guys that you just named. So the defense, and in order to guard Steph, who's constantly moving around the court, he has, that's just his game. He's always moving. So you have to follow him. Who was the guy? It was Denver, KCP. Man, he can't even breathe because of how close these guys are on him. So yes, he gets fouled. He should be getting to the line more, if you want to ask me, because he's getting fouled constantly. They just can't. You can't call it. And Steph has weaknesses in his game where I know he carries the ball at points. I'll give you that. That's something that we see all the time. But so does Jason Tatum. He gets fouled. So I'm not going to say he deserves to go to the line more, I guess, what was the context of you saying, or why were people so upset with that?
Because they think he should be getting to the free throw line more. And I'm thinking, with 6 free throws, I think he averages 6 free throws a game for his career. For a guy that lives on the long ball line, I'd like to think that.
Let
me just give you. I just want to give you the averages. Let me just and I know that they're averages, but just so you know. Okay. Right. So based on 20 field goal attempts per game.
Yep.
And I'm breaking it up not by distance, just by 2 and 3 pointers. So 3 pointers, which he shoots 12. Okay, the average is 1% of those you'll get fouled on. And I get it. I'm dealing with fractions here, which is 0.12. Right. Okay, so 0.12 free throws a game. The other 8 are 2-pointers, which are averaged 15% fouls, which is another 0.96. Okay. So the average player shooting the percentages the way he does would average 1 free throw a game. The average NBA player, he's getting 5.
But you're not taking into account, that's just stats, because you're not taking into account the amount of defenders on each person. You're not taking into account
100%.
teams that they have to play multiple times. If you're playing Denver multiple times through the year, which they will, playing Kings multiple times. So there's so many factors that you can't just say
I'm not disagreeing. What I'm saying is over the last span that we looked at, over the last 8 years, 6 years, whatever I said I was looking at, he's getting 5 times more free throws than the average person who had the same breakdown. Now, again, he also gets more attention. He gets more double teams, 100%. But it is 5 times more. I don't think 5 is living at the line, though. I agree with you there. But he is getting 5 times more than the average.
Well, let's do that with every single player and see how. Because I bet you all of the money in my bank account that they're all 5 times and 10 times and 8 times.
Okay, pick a player. Let's do it. We only have 3. Is there a show coming on after?
I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about guys like I said, like James Harden. Right. I'm thinking about guys like James Harden, who got to the line like 9-10 times a game, and he got fouled on threes. James Harden is really good at selling threes. Steph Curry wasn't really good at selling threes, and the reason why he wasn't good at selling threes because he made them so damn much. He was so open all the damn time.
I will say this though, Jay. Let me. Now I'm gonna, because I am playing both sides here, because I do see both sides of the argument. Let me go back a step. So there's 5, but let's be honest. The Warriors also average probably 1 tech a game, which he shoots. So he's probably only getting 4 on his own play style. Yeah. So it is low. And I agree with you, but still, a guy like Steph, who is double teamed on pretty much all the time, going to the line even 8 times a game, you would expect him to shoot more than 4.
All right, so living at the free throw. So let me come off the living at the free throw line. But he does shoot free throws. It's not like he doesn't get to the stripe. He might not get to the stripe as much as you would like him to get to the stripe. But for his game, I feel like he gets to the stripe a lot.
I think in comparison to other guys that play the game that he plays, yes. But I think that the other guys that play the game he plays
probably don't get as much defensive attention.
Do not get nearly the amount of defensive attention. But I just, that's what I thought, Jay. I was like, I knew there's more context, but people were freaking out. They're like,
there's always more context, but there's also 30 seconds left and 3 super chats, and we always have to get through them all. Marquivian Black, I hope I said that right. To the panel. So quickly, can I get a start bench cut? And Shea, Spider.
You know why he brought this up, Tone? He brought this up because he wants you and me in particular. I'm gonna say it right now. Ant is I'm sorry. Shea is not better than Spider. I'm not Shea. I'm sorry. Shea is not better. Shea is not better than Ant.
I got Shea, Ant, and cut Spider.
I'm going. I just think that I don't think that Shea is that dude yet, man. I'm not. I just don't think so. Not yet. This is the same dude that you. How many he had yesterday? H.
48.
Okay, I think it was 43, and we're gonna forget that. And we're gonna forget that Donovan Mitchell put 43 on him when they saw him in Cleveland. Yes, he did. He put 43 on him when they saw him in Cleveland. So
we're getting played
that's
off.
like saying that.
Right now, the Hawks have the best backcourt. True or false?
False.
Trae Young, super overrated. Trae Young, super overrated. He stinks. Last one. Angie Carr. Well, he's not a system player. He's a system. I believe
I could see the building imploding now. I could. I could just see it imploding right now. I'm telling you, bro.
All right, you guys. This was a good one. For sure. Make sure if you didn't get to catch the beginning of the episode, we had Coach Scott Morrison, assistant coach for the Utah Jazz, join us. It was an amazing little segment there. So appreciate that. Any last words from you guys? Right,
drink
Jay.
water, put a suit on, call your mother, don't drink and drive. Take it light, or take it.
I like that.
Bye, guys.